Good morning, Lompoc.
Good morning, Lompoc. Whew. Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday. We were rushing right up to the last minute. I thought we were going to be a few minutes late.
What else?
I know, right? I hope everyone had a great weekend.
Yeah, and a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, dads. Hopefully you got a chance to catch up with your family and spend some time just enjoying the outdoors, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah. Our weatherman had to take today off because he was very busy spending time with lots of fathers and papas, and he just didn't have time for us this week, unfortunately. So he'll be back next week and bring us all the curls, and so we're looking forward to that.
Yes, indeed. And the weather looks pretty decent this week, I think. I didn't even look it up, but woke up this morning a little bit of moisture on the ground, so go figure. Yeah. Yeah, summer's here. First day of summer yesterday.
That'll be good for our tomato plants for sure.
Yeah, someone tell nature.
Yes. We do have a Good Morning Lompoc that I should have played right away, but here we go. This is from Stella Coombs. Good morning, Lompoc.
Good morning, Lompoc. My name is Stella Coombs. I hope you guys have all had a good weekend, and I hope you guys are staying safe and social distance from other people. Bye. Have a good week.
Thank you, Stella. Thanks for bringing us a little bit of joy from I guess it's just nice to see kids on this show. So
yeah, and we're trying to get back to a little bit more kid material.
We don't have any kids to be able to create little segments, but if you guys have cute kids and you want to send us little Good Morning Lompoc intros or have them ask how people are doing, we would love that. So,
and we've heard, and this is kind of funny, we've heard somebody tell a friend of ours saying, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to do something with those Good Morning Lompoc people. Do you think you could talk to them?" We're just a local little show here, so it's very easy to get a hold of us. If you message us on our Facebook page,
we will respond.
Our secretaries, we don't have them, so we answer every single message. We try to communicate with everyone directly. So yeah, if you have an idea or a thought, or you want to see your kids, show off a little bit, then just message us. It's really simple.
So over the weekend, on Friday, we talked a little bit about Juneteenth and the history behind that. And we did get to attend the small Juneteenth celebration here in Lompoc. Obviously, it couldn't be very big since...
still really good turnout.
Yeah, since we're still social distancing, but that was still a great turnout. So
thank you, Lynn Wood, for grabbing these great photos.
Yes, and there's Mayor Janelle Osborne in the background. And
this is the local group that calls themselves Block, and so they're the ones that organized this. And the mayor put together a proclamation that makes
June of General Lee on April 9, 1865. And whereas Juneteenth marks June 19, 1865, holiday in our community, because this is how we do it. We change course.
Just educate, vote. If you're not registered to vote, the voting booth is over there. So register yourself. Please educate yourself. Please. We complain, but we don't educate ourselves and do actions.
Sorry, I played that a little bit too quick. So
that's okay.
But Mayor Janelle Osborne declared Juneteenth a holiday here in Lompoc. So many businesses closed early, and maybe we'll be, declaring it an all-day holiday in the future for those businesses. So that was really cool.
I'm very proud of the group that organized themselves, Block, and made this happen, brought it all together. Yeah. Had a couple food trucks there for Food Truck Friday, and it was just a really, really awesome experience.
And for the most part, everybody was wearing their masks and being careful to socially distance too. We still got to be pretty vigilant. We got a graph that a friend of ours shared on Facebook the other day, and it kind of struck me a bit. So I think this is important to remember. This plays for just a few seconds, and you
remember to wear your mask.
You can see the death rate from the beginning of the year from other diseases like malaria and homicides and alcohol. But this was pretty eye-opening. So you'll see COVID is there at the very bottom of the graph. And so just a couple, this is still January of 2020. And it's just growing slowly. Malaria is still the number one killer worldwide at the very top there. And now you'll see COVID start to move up. Sorry, this is about 20 more seconds here.
Well, at least they have a really nice little picture of me.
Yeah.
So anyway, this really, is still around, so we've got to be very cautious.
Really put things into perspective, I think, for me. I mean, look how quickly that's moving up. That's the gold color there. and it's in third. Now it's second, and then it overtakes malaria. And so, I mean, it's growing pretty rapidly. I think we're at 120,000 deaths here in the U.S. so far. So I think this one ends on... That's in May.
That's still in May.
That's still May. So just something to stay vigilant on. Wear your mask. Mm-hmm. I know we're not the perfect role models. We've definitely been trying to see friends. We're seeing the same friends for the most part, but wearing our masks as much as possible. And but it's just something to still be aware of. And obviously it's not over yet. Yeah. So thank you so much to the Carpenters for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, there was also some fun news at Vaughn's. They got an early morning wake up.
So before you play it, so you remember, if you've been watching the show for a while, maybe a month and a half ago or so, we talked about a bear in Solvang. Mm-hmm. And then about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we talked about a bear in Lompoc. Mm-hmm. Maybe the same bear, but the bear decided to come back into town and decided to go to Vaughn's to do some shopping.
Yeah, he was hungry.
So
I think Vaughn's is, it's a great place. I mean, my preference is still grocery outlet, but Vaughn's is second best, I guess.
Yeah, but it was the middle of the night, so I think they were closed, fortunately, or he'd have probably just walked right in, ordered a Starbucks.
The bear is back. He's currently enjoying lunch at Vaughn's. What are we having today? What type of specials do we have today? Interesting. A little soup, a little salmon. Oh, he's a Starbucks bear. Mm-hmm. Rolling down the neighborhood. Gotta clean your paws. Here we go.
Oh my God. Dude.
Oh, he has a tag on his ear!
The bear!
I love the guy yelling in the background. He's like, the bear!
But it doesn't look that big to me. I mean, he just looks like a large dog.
Are you kidding?
Dog.
No,
I don't
come
know.
on. Who has a 400-pound dog here in Lompoc? We would love to meet that dog. No, that's a big bear.
Maybe, yeah. He looked nice, though. I
mean, it's
would
like
have liked to see Yogi.
half the size of a small grizzly.
Yeah.
But, I believe it's a black bear, right? Brown bear? Black bear. Remember we talked about that?
Yes. Well, we said grizzly earlier. And grizzly.
No, it's not grizzly.
It's a black bear.
Yeah.
He just looks brown.
Yeah.
It's definitely a black bear.
Yeah.
He looks brown.
Anyway, bears are a new thing in Lompoc. Maybe we'll update our city logo to include a bear.
Oh, that would be nice.
Now, since we
that
have
would be fun.
Multiples, maybe.
Maybe
just
like submissions for a new logo with the bear included. So
I feel like California is reminding us of its state symbol. Just sending it to Lompoc. The bear.
Dulcie says it's malnutrition. So that's too bad. Went from happy to sad. So thank you, Dulcie. No, just kidding.
Anyway, Bear in Lompoc. Look it up.
Bear in Lompoc. And then the Flower Festival. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Just a quick one. So this is on the left is the photos of this year's Flower Festival Queen candidates. Unfortunately, the Flower Festival was canceled this year, but they still, these Queen candidates had a chance to drive around town. And then I believe a day or two ago, Taylor Valencia was crowned the 2020 Flower Festival Queen, which, if you don't know much about Lompoc history, every year the Flower Festival Queen, that's a big deal. Flower Festival started in 1952.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
From what I read. So anyway, a long-standing tradition here. So congratulations to Taylor Valencia.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah. I know it's not quite the same, and there's no Flower Festival this year.
But in a few years, they'll be able to look back and say, I was the queen during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's... Seriously.
Yeah. Kind of crazy.
That's a title right there. Yeah. So we've been trying to keep up a little bit on history regarding race and inequality and sharing those stories. And Gary James brought a story to our attention that happened back in 1983 with the Harlem Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. And I think it was, I want to say it was shared kind of again in Ed Hat kind of at the end of May. So we looked at that story and we had a chance to talk to Gary because he had a really awesome memory about the Harlem Globetrotters. But I did want to share a little segment. This actually made the national news.
In Santa Barbara, California today, a very bad case of mistaken identity. 3 members of the Harlem Globetrotters basketball team were stopped by police, handcuffed and spread-eagled on the street because police suspected they might have been the men who held up a nearby jewelry store. Lou Dunbar, O.V. Dobson, and Jimmy Blacklock were in town for an exhibition game and happened to be Christmas shopping at another jewelry store when the police came along.
So after that, we found an interview from Phil Donahue. He interviewed them and got a little bit more perspective and a little more information on what happened. So this jewelry store owner had been robbed of $400,000, and he had put up the description of he said it was a black couple black guys, average height, which at the time was like 5'6" to 5'9". So this was the interview with them.
I was scared to death because I knew I hadn't done anything. I was sitting in the back seat with Jim, and I just freaked out basically because I didn't know why these people had these guns on me.
You had to lie face down in the middle of the street?
Well, they asked us to. They told me the white line, for some reason, the white line was moving when I got out of the car. I could not find it. I was just that nervous.
The jeweler described the assailants to police. The people alleged to have been responsible for the actual jewelry heist were black. How tall are you, Jimmy?
That's Jimmy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm 6'2".
You're Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Obi?
6'5".
And Luke?
6'10".
You're 6'10"?
Right.
What was the description of the jewelry store?
Average height, about 5'6", 5'7".
Average height was 5'7" to 5'6" to 5'9", I think it was.
Did the police apologize to you?
I got a call for the police chief, supposedly, Santa Barbara. This is like 20 minutes before we were leaving the city the next day. And that was about 3 in the afternoon. So I guess he had all day to really memorize what he had to say. And he called me and said that his direct words were, quote unquote, I hope that you and your teammates don't have any ill feelings about our fine city of Santa Barbara, and that I want to congratulate you for cooperating with police. And I said, well, just a second. I said, we didn't have any choice to cooperate. He said, well, it could have been worse. And I says, well, I'll see you in court.
I think
Fascinating.
That's a lot of perspective. 1983. And even Phil Donahue, it's a longer interview. I kind of cut it up a little bit. But he even said, this is becoming a more apparent problem of the police targeting people of color and just basically racial profiling. So I found that pretty fascinating that was 37 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I know some of you might be sick of us talking about it, and I'm
used to it.
Yeah, but I'm sure people are sick of racism too. So
yeah, and it's just a reminder. If we don't learn or we don't study history a little bit, we're doomed to keep repeating it.
Yes.
So again, it's sometimes it's fascinating to go back and look and say, oh wow, this was an issue there.
But they brought some celebrity attention to a very apparent and growing problem. So something to think about.
And when Gary's talking about it, what's fascinating is when he was a child, younger. So this had to have been, 60s,
50s. So 1950s.
The Harlem Globetrotters, I guess, came to Lompoc.
Yes.
And so that's what
he's going to share his story of that. And he said from what he recalls, there were no black people in Lompoc at that time in the early 50s. It wasn't until the Vandenberg Air Force Base came into town that he recalls the first black family moving here. So he said he never seen a black person in person up until that time, except on TV. So this was a pretty interesting perspective. So thank you so much, Gary, for telling this story with us.
When I was young, and it was still before the Air Force Base opened, the Harlem Globetrotters came to our school. And the Harlem Globetrotters, most people might be aware, but if not, they were this touring crew of performer basketball players. And so they came to our school, and I wrote a little piece about how it was when they came into our gymnasium. Now, mind you, our school was, all white, a little Hispanic, maybe a little Filipino, and that was it. So suddenly 8 to 10 tall black men in basketball clothes came sprinting out into the gymnasium, and rows of noisy, self-absorbed kids lining opposite sides of the basketball court. The Globetrotters grinned, they laughed, they drew us in, antics, impossible shots, basketballs spinning on fingertips, nonstop banter. Meadowlark Lemon was the Globetrotters' reigning clown prince, for more than 16,000 games for decades. He was there. He was dazzling and charismatic. Each teammate a showman, lanky, lean, exuberant, and beyond amazing basketball skills. Up until then, I didn't even like basketball. For maybe an hour, they held us captive. Clever tricks, long fingers, deftly launching their long and even longer throws, an endless array of antics and shenanigans. Their nonstop, well-rehearsed precision shots, drawing gasps, shouts of joy, and bursts of applause. This was heaven on earth. Then in the late 50s, Vandenberg opened, and the first Black family arrived in Lompoc because the dad worked at the base. So I joined a community gospel choir in Santa Barbara. We were about 20 kids, I guess, young people, of all multiracial. And one year, 9 of us went to a convention of gospel choirs in Atlanta, Georgia. And every night at 6 o'clock, they would start the choral performances in Atlanta's Fox Theater. I just surrendered to the moment. I'm going to read another excerpt. Yeah. Some choirs built their songs to the point that the entire theater was on its toes, swaying and shouting, and even some people fainting. There would be these groups of maybe 3 or 4 ladies wearing white cotton gloves, and they would surround a person while holding hands if it looked like that person might fall over and hurt themselves, and or leave their bodies, protecting them from any injuries. I couldn't contain myself. Literally, tears started flowing. I began sobbing the most mysterious yet delicious way. Not sad or the least bit distraught. How can I say lifted and transported? People around me ranging from contained and devotional to outright flailing and shouting and hollering. It was wild. As the pitch grew higher, my tears flowed faster and freer. And not the least bit embarrassed, I cannot say when I had ever felt so alive and privileged to be in that richness. So the experience with the Harlem Globetrotters and my exposure and experience of the emotional richness and the soulful singing tradition of the African American culture are some of the most vivid times in my life that I have truly felt the presence of God in every fiber of my being.
I just love his stories.
I know, I do too. He's got such a great perspective. Yeah. I had to cut up his interview a little bit, so he didn't mention, but he joined that choir, which was multiracial but still predominantly Black, I believe. And then when he got invited to go to this national choir convention in Atlanta, he said he recalls being, one white person in a room full of almost everyone there was Black. And he had that moment where he felt like, whoa, this is different. And then of course nobody was paying attention to him, nobody cared, and he went with it. When he was telling the story, it was just you could feel that energy. And he talked about I
was just going to say, as his singing career kind of took off, and he worked with a partner,
Michelle. Her name is Michelle.
Sometime during that, he was invited to sing the opening song, I think, for something at Grace Temple Missionary Baptist Church here in Lompoc, which is in Old Town Lompoc. So, quite the history here. Yeah. And we just love talking to Gary. We're going to keep doing that for a long time because he has so many stories.
So many stories.
Here,
and Sheila, I'm not sure of that name of that first African-American family here, but I'll have to ask Gary. Maybe he'll remember and we'll...
If anyone knows out there, or you think, hey, African-American, Black families, I knew some Black families here in the 1960s. We'd love to start learning a little bit of the history here and digging backwards to figure something out.
And we'd just love to learn more perspectives here too. So if you have a great story or you want to reach out to us, we'd love to share it. So please
don't be shy.
So,
we're really nice
I think
people.
History is so important, and especially when it's locally, you have that connection to it. So
definitely.
Anyways, so we wanted to continue with our mural series.
Yes.
With Vicki and Ann Thompson. We'll be meeting with them again later this week to
capture
some more murals.
Yeah. And for those of you that sometimes leave a little bit early, don't leave. We have an amazing performance. We're getting music involved again. So at the end of today's performance is a song, an original from Caitlin Shuey.
She's amazing.
Who will introduce her. She was also a Flower Festival queen.
Gosh.
Anyway, amazing performance at the end.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that for sure.
Jeremy played the song that she shared with us from the other room, and I was in the middle of doing something. I'm like, yeah, and then I hear it. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. So
Pretty awesome.
yeah,
we're very fortunate.
It'll be a great treat. So anyways, we chatted with Anne and Vicky again, and we focused on the murals towards the end of Art Alley, kind of near the Cypress Gallery. So here is our little part 2 of the mural series. Thank you.
This was actually painted in 95 to 1996, and it was one of the privately commissioned ones by the Mural Society. It's not a mural in a day. I was the only artist on it, but I did go through the jurying process. Even though I was a member of the Mural Society, you don't automatically get to paint a mural. You have to go through a jurying process, and in the end I got the commission to do it. And it was a little scary because they put up this freestanding wall, and I'm standing back on the sidewalk, and it's this big blank white thing, you know. It was a little daunting, and I went about it the old-fashioned way with putting a grid on it and no projection or anything like that we more commonly use now. And it represents the first mission that was here in Lompoc. We call it Mission Vieja. It was started in 1787, and there was a big, huge earthquake in 1812 that destroyed it, basically. I mean, it's made out of adobe and the tile roofs, and most of it crumbled, and then it rained. This is the same earthquake that did damage all the way down to, if you've been to Samuel and Capistrano mission, it was the same earthquake. They decided it was a bad luck space, and they moved across the Santa Ynez River to where La Purísima is now. There were no pictures of it in 1812. There were some artist renderings. They did an archaeological dig here in the early 80s, I think. There was an artist that worked with them that did a rendering of what it might have looked like going by things they'd found and the foundations and stuff like that. So I used a lot of information like that to come up with what it might have looked like. Well, this was what we would call a major commissioned mural. One of Jean's plans to use all these, there's like 11 garage doors here on this property to represent the flowers that were grown in the valley back when Lompoc was the flower seed capital of the world, which we no longer are. The flower fields that are left now are for cut flowers, and there aren't that many. But it used to be, if you went out, look up point and look down, it was like this giant patchwork of color that were flowers. And I moved here in '79 when it was still doing pretty good. But over the years, it's all failed. And these all are some of the flowers that were part of that. Lobelia and sweet pea. Sweet pea, which is the city flower, is represented here. They're on masonite panels, and I painted them in the showroom of the old Ford building where the Solvang Brewing Company is now. And then they were put on the doors after the fact, and touch-up was done and stuff like that. There's a piece down there on the wall with hollyhocks, and there's a girl in the doorway when you go down there that kind of jumps out and surprises people. That's actually one of my daughters. And her cat. Used to freak people when they drive down the alley. So. Okay, we're right in front of the side of the Cypress Art Gallery, which is the home of the Lompoc Valley Art Association. This is a wraparound mural that was painted in 1998. The gallery actually opened in '94, I believe, and when we first got it, it was an ugly little block building, and after a couple of years we decided to try and pep it up, and this mural was the result of that. Linda Gooch came up with the original concept of this and asked me to help her because I had a little more experience with murals in town and the Mural Society, and I added some stuff on, but we basically worked on it for, I don't know, a couple of months. It's a real fun one because there's things hidden in the mural all around. There's a fairy and the hollyhocks, there's a lizard, there's ladybugs here and there, there's cats, birds, things like that are in there.
A teacher at the Megalito, I believe it's that school, who every year has her, I want to say 4th or 5th grader kids, students, have to go around and look at all the murals with their parents, pick out the one they like the best, and then they give a report. And why did they choose that one? And why is that the one that it's just, to think that it's something that just came out of someone else's head, Gene Stevens and his wife, and it's evolved to a point where it's really in the fabric of the community now. I mean, when teachers will start doing that with the kids, it's just, wow, you know, that just makes you feel, it gives me goosebumps.
It's been so wonderful to live here all these years and be a part of something that's hopefully going to last. And it's art, which is the heart and soul of community to me.
I love that.
They are so much fun.
They really are. They're a great team.
If you enjoy this section, we're going to keep this going. So we're going to try to meet with them. I think we're going to meet with them this coming week, and we're going to start on maybe the kind of the west side of South 8th Street and start talking about some of those murals
too. So, and get involved with the Mural Society too. Volunteer if you're artistic. They're really looking for younger people to kind of continue carrying the torch there, so that we can keep this project going. They have to continue to keep up these murals.
Yep. Lots of maintenance,
whether that be with minor restorations. Anne is their official curator. So she might either take them down or be there all day working on making sure the mural still looks beautiful. They also need help weeding. And even if you're walking by and you see a few weeds, maybe pull those. But let's keep our murals looking fresh. And
the Lompoc Mural Society, the idea is to continue to grow over time. So in the future there'll be more murals. So imagine just being a participant, helping out. This is a feel-good thing for Lompoc.
And it's actually a huge draw for tourism. Vicki was saying when they were restoring that mural at the Cypress Gallery, that they met so many different people. One guy came from Croatia, and he arrived on a bike. I'm not sure from where, if it was Solvang or if he was just riding around town or what. But yeah, from Croatia specifically to Lompoc to see the murals. Another couple from England that came to see the murals. So I feel like as locals, we tend to maybe forget about them a little bit.
It's easy.
So
there's a lot. So anyway, we're going to keep sharing those, and maybe we'll run across a couple that you didn't even know existed, which could be kind of fun too.
Yes.
So thank you, ladies, again for joining us on that.
Yes, thank you. And then we have our amazing performance by Caitlin Shuey.
So this is the time to turn the speakers up because we're going to hear some amazing music. But first, so in 2018, Caitlin Shuey was the Flower Festival Queen, which is pretty fascinating. And this is, and I tried to find her name. Somebody out there, you can slap me because the first Flower Festival Queen. I know that I've met this lady and I forgot her name. But anyway, this is Caitlin with the very first Flower Festival Queen. And there should be maybe one more slide.
I don't think
I remember.
Yep,
there we go. So that's her with the former one. And then in the parade, the Flower Festival parade, that's Caitlin Shuey. Anyway, so she is an amazing singer. She is, I think, in her second year at Pepperdine. And she is majoring in her voice because she has an amazing one. So this video is an original. She's playing with her father.
Yes, that's so awesome.
It's pretty awesome. So before we go, don't forget, this is the end of today's show, but we'll be back on Friday
at 8:30.
8:30 a.m. And we're going to dig deeper into some stories here locally. So make sure you tune in, tell your friends, share,
and
subscribe.
if you have any ideas that you want to share with us or important stories about Lompoc, please email us or shoot us a message on Facebook. We would love to hear from you. We're always looking for content, so we can't create this show without you. Seriously. So
thank you to Caitlin Shuey, and thank you all for watching.
Yes.
Have a great Monday.
Have a wonderful week. So thank you guys so much.
Hi everyone. My name's Caitlin Shuey, and this is my dad, Lauren. I'm a student at Pepperdine University, but Lompoc is my home, and when I am home, I enjoy playing music with my dad and my younger brother, Keenan. Thank you, Good Morning Lompoc, for having us. I think it's great what you guys are doing for our community, and I hope you guys enjoy this song. It's an original that I wrote called Thinking About You. Ready? There's not enough hours in just one day. There's too many words for just one page. But when I think of you, time disappears, and every word I write is truly sincere. And there's too many miles from coast to coast, but I'll travel them all to keep you close. And when I think of you, distance fades, and then I close my eyes and I can see your face. And when the sun creeps behind a mountainside, I am greeted by the night sky, and the moonlight fills my room, lights my eyes, and for hours I gaze, just thinking about you. my box of paints, but there's not enough colors to demonstrate how you brighten my world and propel me into a state of mind where I constantly see the beauty and truth to every degree. And when the sun creeps behind the mountainside, I am greeted by the night sky, and the moonlight fills my room, lights my eyes, and for hours I gaze, and I'll always be amazed. And when the sun creeps behind the mountainside, I am greeted by the night sky.